Hey everybody, it's Friday. What's today? 21st of December. January 2022. I'm about a month behind, apologies. It sounds about right though. I'm still Kevin Merkel. This is an AMA, you ask, I answer. Already see a few questions coming in, so we're gonna jump right into it. Looks like we're pretty much on time this week as well, or I'm on time, I should say, so yay for me. Bull Roast asking, I remember you mentioning once that Bitcoin's stock to flow model doesn't work because of leverage trading. Wouldn't that apply to gold as well, or any other asset class for that matter? Thanks for the sound check, Jens, by the way. So not specifically for leverage trading. So stock to flow is about kind of new availability and supply versus outgoing, let's say outgoing supply. So you have gold that's mined, for example, and then you have gold that's being sold on the open market. Stock to flow. When it comes to Bitcoin, we all know the metrics by which Bitcoin is mined, and that it halves every X amount of blocks. The problem is that now in gold, there definitely is leverage trading. There definitely are CFDs, and there are trading that happens on synthetic instruments. In Bitcoin, however, the absolute vast majority of trading happens on synthetic instruments. So the liquidity in Bitcoin is really only gauged by the amount of risk liquidity providers are willing to take, not about the amount of new Bitcoin coming into the market. The only effect that really has is new Bitcoin coming to the market through mining may be sold off relatively quickly, depending on the market situation. However, that volume is significantly smaller than the amount of potential leveraged or synthetic trading that could be happening on the buy or sell side. So I don't think the stock flow model works at all, to be honest. I would probably have a similar argument to other markets, but not necessarily the same, because other markets, when we're specifically talking about commodity markets, are different. Bitcoin is not a commodity. So you could, I guess, kind of try to say it's some type of digital commodity, and you might be digitally wrong or digitally right when you say that. But stock to flow is a nonsense technique to look at Bitcoin price. Absolute nonsense. However, again, with many technical indicators, especially those that are followed by a large swath of the mostly retail trading public, they can be self-fulfilling prophecies. So someone sees that the outer oscillating band is being touched on a specific indicator, and they say, oh, time to buy. And so does everybody else looking at that same indicator. So does that mean it really was a time to buy? Well, potentially, but not really based on anything other than the fact that multiple people were looking at that same indicator. Happy Friday, same to you. Rush music. I don't think I remember that one. This is a newbie into the chat. Nice to see you here. Hey Kevin, XCM tokenomics still on for end of the month? XCM tokenomic revamp is still on, that's for sure. We are doing our best to make sure we get that bad boy out as soon as we can, because we think it's going to have a major effect on the XCM marketplace, and a positive one at that. So it is still on course. I do think we could be potentially within that time frame. It's a discussions that are ongoing. What we don't want to do is have a kind of a release of information on how it'll work without actually having it ready to work. And so that's why there's been, a slight delay from when we could announce it now, but I don't want to be, Justin Sun. I don't want to make announcements of announcements. That's too crypto for me. I might be a crypto guy, but that's way too crypto for me. I got to stay traditional in some way, shape, or form. Hey, Bobby, how are you? Physical XCM tokens strong soon, I guess. I don't know how strong the physical token might be, but I do believe there's been movement there on making sure people get them into their hands. So that's a cool thing. Thank God. Finally now I can sleep better at night knowing that people will be holding physical XCM tokens and placing them under the pillow, so the XCM ferry will increase price. So I'm happy about that. Hey, MVB, how are you? Robbie Rogo Gaming. What's your view on today's crash correction on the crypto market? Well, my portfolio looks a little shittier than it did 10 minutes ago. You know, I don't think, I think what I mentioned at the beginning of the month probably still stands. One, you have these kind of time periods where crypto is uncorrelated for the most part to world markets, and you have times when it is. Right now we have kind of macro, we have a macro issue around the world, which is still COVID 27 years later, or however long it's been. I wonder how much money I've spent on masks. I should calculate that on a spreadsheet. I'm not going to, but I think it'd be interesting. So we have that macro issue going on for the last 27 years, and now we also have another regional issue, which is being played out as if it could potentially affect macro market conditions, and that's the Putin taking over Ukraine and then coming and living in the summer palace in Estonia, and that's something that is regional in terms of conflict, but potentially because obviously of commodities and gas pipelines and just general NATO sending angry letters to people could potentially affect, because that's what NATO does. They don't actually do it. They send nasty letters. Great. Who cares? Anyway, point is that is a regional issue that could be macro. And so those two macro things right now, I think, are weighing on world markets, and they're weighing on the US markets. They're weighing on the Japanese markets. They're weighing on European markets. And because those elements are macro, you also have Kazakhstan, where lots of Bitcoin mining moved, which now has, power outages and all these other issues. There's now there's some ridiculous talk in the EU about banning proof of work protocols, which I'll be the first to say here, maybe not the first to say, but I will say it here live on YouTube, is fucking nonsense. And I wouldn't even think that there's no way that makes any progress for a multitude of reasons, because if we're going to start banning technology that spends electricity, well, Jesus, there's a lot of things we should be banned. My refrigerator spends electricity. I think we should ban refrigerators. We should use ice boxes again because, the environment. I think people look at these perspectives. Most people want to save the environment, and that's a great cause to be behind. However, have you ever wondered how much electricity gets spent by the financial sector in general? How many well-suited individuals, by the way, those suits that they buy to go to those very well conditioned offices cost a lot of environmental or cost the environment a lot. There's a lot of water in those suits. There's a lot of, so if you took in the whole environmental impact of the financial sector in general, from the cars, the trains, the buses, the planes, the buildings, the building of the buildings, the, maintenance of those buildings, all this stuff, it would far outweigh by leaps and bounds how much proof of work can ever spend. I don't care how big the network gets. And so anyway, my point is to say is that we have macro, we have regional that could be macro, and that's causing all markets to fall. Considering the fact that crypto is much more volatile, and the movements in crypto are always more volatile than most traditional marketplaces. As you see, world markets fall by 2, 3, 4, 5%, seeing crypto fall by 40% is not out of the realm of possibility, 50% even. We know that historically corrections happened around 83% on Bitcoin. I don't expect to see that ever again. That's one thing. I know you see this in Twitter a lot. Never going to see that price again. And of course, you see it 5,000 more times. And eventually somebody, when they say not going to see it again, is right. But before they were right, they were wrong 4,633 times. Here, I never expect to see a major correction like that in majors such as Bitcoin, simply because of the dynamic of the type of money that's flowing into the market now and the percentage and ratio of institutional versus non-institutional funds. So long story short, what I think is it's normal. We're living in a world right now where, we've been living in a world for the past 30 years where fear is what sells, and anything that governments and or media can make you fearful of, they will attempt to do, because that's the only thing that we like to watch on TV. Seeing a cat get saved from a tree, nobody's watching that story, but a potential invasion of a country, that's a story people want to listen to, whether or not they believe it to be true. You talk a lot about how the crypto market is following the FX market in regards to regulation. Are there any big profile figures you see doing jail time in the future? CZ, Arthur Sam, etc. FTX is a scam. Nice username. So there are definitely figures in crypto that have done things that, had they done those things in regulated markets, would be subject to jail time, 100%. We have to understand, however, though, that while if you do things that in a regulated market would potentially lead to jail time, in an unregulated market, what it does mean is that you are unregulatable. So the person or persons that are manning the helm at a business that does things in whatever jurisdiction that in any other jurisdiction could potentially be considered as unlawful will probably never be able to get licensed as the head and or person pulling the strings at that or any other company. Does that mean they face jail time? Well, that depends on how they react as those regulations come and when they inevitably receive some form of contact with the regulator. So is there potential for that? Absolutely, there's potential for that. How probable is it? It is 100% possible. It's probably a 50-50 in terms of probability, and that's simply due to the fact that it's going to depend on many factors, some factors which we're only going to speculate whether we know or not, because that information just isn't public and it's just speculation. So I do think you will see high profile players in crypto probably get faced with jail time. Whether they actually go to jail or they cut a deal or whatever is up to, courts around the world. But we will see those instances. We're seeing them already, right? We see XRP and Ripple, parent company. We've also seen cases against and current cases ongoing against some of these some crypto entities, and I guarantee you there's ongoing investigations and probably into every major crypto, whether that's for benign reasons, i.e. they were attacked with some form of fraud or etc., and they are simply involved in the case, but not necessarily for any bad reasons, or they are involved in bad reasons. There are absolutely cases pending. With interest rates around the world hovering around over 2%, what's the small print for taking out loans and investing in bullish crypto assets with passive income, or even stable coins with 2-digit APYs? What's the small print? I guess you're thinking about what are the risks involved. If you're asking for my opinion, I think taking out a loan and making an investment is never the best idea. I don't care what that investment is. I don't care how sound it is. It's never the best idea. However, depending on your own ability, well, depending on one, your ability to pay back that loan should the investment go south, and two, your own kind of willingness or ability to deal with risk, your risk tolerance. Everybody has a risk tolerance. I know for a fact, because I've dealt with people and dealing with risk for a long time, that people will tell you one thing. So, for instance, I think you should buy this token. Understand it's super high risk, extremely high risk. You may lose more than you invest, but in my opinion, it should be a piece of your portfolio at 0.5%. That's what I said. This is all, this is not nonfiction, right? This is all not, I always mess up nonfiction and fiction. I don't know. This is not something that actually happened, but this is a scenario, right? What the person actually heard when I said that was this: dude, if you don't put money in this, you're going to get wrecked. Sell your house, sell your grandmother's fake leg, and put all that money into this token because it's going to make you a ton of money. Now, that's not what I said. In fact, it's so far away from what I said, I don't even understand how somebody's filter in their own brain got to that point, but I guarantee you there's a vast swath of the population that's exactly what happens. And so I myself would never take a loan to invest in crypto. I don't see that as a great way of expanding one's wealth while reducing one's risk profile. And I'm a pretty high risk. I'm willing to take more risk than most. What I would say is that crypto is volatile enough. You don't need leverage and you don't need someone else's money, regardless of where you start, to get to a point where that loan is no longer needed. What you need is patience and a plan. There's been a multitude of people, a relatively large sum of individuals who have started with, $100 or less and now control millions in the crypto market. That may sound like a fairy tale, but it's not. Now, some of those people had no plan and they weren't patient. They got lucky. But some of them had a plan, stuck to it, and were patient. And being patient in crypto, it doesn't mean you have to wait that long. Being patient in real estate might mean 3 decades of your time. Being patient in crypto might be a month, might be 6 months, might be a year. At the very stretch, it might be 3 to 4 years if you believe in these cycles that lots of people talk about. So you're right. Interest rates are low, but would you take out a loan to put your money into a bank account to make less than 2%? Probably not. Where there's almost no risk. Well, there's never almost no risk, but there's very little risk, but no return. So if that answer is no, then saying that you would take that loan to go into a relatively high risk asset for still not the largest of returns. So anyway, everybody can do things differently. Obviously, with things that pay 10, 15, 20, 30%, you have to understand that if that's a stable coin, understand that those rates will fall at some point. You may get caught in a point where they fall. And if you're on some adjustable rate or whatever with that loan, you may get caught in the middle of owing more money than you actually are paid back. On the other side, understand that if you're not in a stable coin and it is a risk asset, a stakeable asset that is a risk asset, THT, KDA, XCM, Flux, they're all risk assets. If they fluctuate too much, then even though you're getting that 30% in actual fiat value, that's where you took the loan from, you might actually, get back less than what you put in, or owe more money than what you actually have at the end of the day. When someone shorts on margin, do you lend it to user from CM Treasury, or it's only a paper trade? If you lend it, how do you scale? So from an accounting standpoint, it is lent. That doesn't necessarily mean we need to have 100% of the funds on hand to lend it. Case in point is that we do match orders. That means we constantly have clients as well that are on different sides of trades. So obviously, that means in certain circumstances, it doesn't go out to a liquidity provider. When it does, we do have certain levels of credit and leverage with those liquidity providers. Again, that means that as long as we manage exposure correctly between liquidity providers, we don't necessarily need to have 100% of those funds on hand to lend. As we grow, we have more matched orders. That reduces the need to push those out to liquidity providers. That also reduces the amount of funds we need to have to be able to scale. So like many things in this business, as we grow, liquidity becomes thicker, deeper, and the need for us to provide the credit lessens. And the need for us to actually have that credit on hand also lessens. It's not fractional reserve. It's nothing that I would say is dangerous and or kind of goes against our ethos. What it is just it's treasury management. And we in most cases, we do not need to have all capital on hand that we're lending out, considering the fact that we do have credit and margin and leverage at liquidity providers currently. Hey, Kevin, curious to know what the technical process is behind listing a new token on Coinmetro. Hey, Bin Chicken. Bin Chicken. Is that like a chicken you find in the trash bin? I noticed that your avatar isn't a chicken. Just me observing things. Anyway, technical process. So it depends. The technical process can be as easy as BitGo already services its token. Technical process done. Then it's just front end to make sure that the token is listed, and testing to make sure deposits and withdrawals work. When it's a mainnet coin, meaning that it has its own protocol, something like Cadena, there's a much more intricate process. Aside from and when you say technical process, maybe you mean the entire process. So Us talking to the CEO, the COO, the people that pull the strings of the company, getting documentation, going through the due diligence process. That for me isn't necessarily technical, but it is part of the process. The technical side for something like KDA is involved because obviously 20 chains, no one had really ever done this before on a centralized exchange. It's going back and forth with their devs and our devs, testing, making sure that the implementation is correct, and then working on the front end to make sure that we can service the token, etc. So it depends. It can be different for different types of assets, especially depending if they have their own protocol behind them, or if they're using a protocol that we've already coded to or already written to, something like Ethereum, for example. Hi, would you list Nervos Network on CM? I don't know much about Nervos Network. In fact, this might be the first time I've heard of it. So when I say I don't know much, it could mean I don't know anything. I don't remember having read anything about it. For things like this, I always ask people to DM me on Telegram at Kevin Mirko. And this way you can send me a link. When I get around to it, I can read it. And then I can figure out, well, what's going on with that token and whether or not it might be interesting for us to take a look at. The Philippe, hey, Kevin, heard some rumors Coinmetro is going to Discord. Nice lead in, Mr. Philippe. Yes. So just so everybody knows, and it's now, I guess, official, we will be opening up an official Coinmetro Discord. In fact, Mr. Philippe here is the driving force behind that very new channel. We're going to have both channels for verified users. You're going to be able to connect your Discord right from your account, meaning that we will make sure that we don't have people that don't have verified Coinmetro accounts inside of those channels. Somebody had, in reference to Whale Room, which is a whole different project, which we'll talk about in the future for sure, about if the kind of idea of limiting access was going in line with our ideology about giving access to everyone. My answer to that question was, yeah, it is. And you have to look at it from a little bit different of an angle. Our goal is to get everybody access to great opportunities. Our goal is to create a community that helps its own community grow and also uplift that same community. And part of that is keeping everyone safe and also stopping the narrative inside of that community from going away from its goal. And right now, for instance, on Telegram, I'm a Telegram user. I never was before. In fact, I never thought I would use it, but then I got into crypto and I became a Telegram user. And I like Telegram for many reasons. I love the voice messages. I guess anybody that's been on a Telegram more than like 15 seconds probably knows that. Funny story, I hate to receive voice messages. So I apologize for sending them. Point is that there are aspects of Telegram I like. Some aspects of Telegram I don't like is that, dudes come in all the time. Sometimes dudettes, but mostly dudes that say that, post nonsense, that try to scam our clients that come in as Coinmetro support and try to steal their money, steal their funds, etc. That's not going to happen or be very, very mitigated when we have a Discord channel that you have to connect from your account. And so I don't think that limits access. I think it protects our community, which is definitely something we want to do. Not only do we want to grow and uplift the community of like-minded individuals, we want to make sure that those individuals don't lose their money to an unsuspecting scam because they think it's us. And that's going to help us do that. So yeah, Discord is coming deep in the process already. Well, Philippe is deep in the process already, along with other people on our team. And we are close to launching that official Discord channel. It's going to have a lot of integrations over time inside of our own back office. I think it's going to be super cool. I will have to become a Discord user, so we'll see how that works out. And I will see you guys there. But yes, Discord is coming, Philippe. And thanks for reminding me to mention it because I would have forgotten. So I appreciate that. Yo, Kev, what's the mask behind you? So that's an ongoing competition for someone to tell me who that is. It was a Halloween costume here at the office. I think one of the best, actually. But anybody who can figure out what it is going to get something. And that might just be a smile for me. I'm not sure how much that's worth. Probably not much. But anyway, it's still an ongoing competition. No one's figured it out yet. Hi, will XCM minimum required staking be lowered? I think right now it's 1,000 XCM, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, price has increased. There's potential that at some point in the future it is lowered. Right now, though, we don't have any plans to lower it. But again, we are about access. And so there is a value to what you're given when you stake. And that's not just about the rewards. So that does carry a bit of a price, I would say. And thus, I do agree with you that at some point, maybe not quite yet, but at some point we probably will revisit those limits or minimums. I have over-invested a lot. Can Kev do something? This is like the meme guy, right? Can devs do something? Well, I would take over-investing a lot as a general investment, learning experience. When everybody starts to invest, trade, whatever, as soon as they do anything they deem to be correct, i.e. they make some money, everybody generally makes a bad decision and have a little bit of tea and overinvests. And unfortunately, like many things in life, the only way you learn is from failing. So always know that everybody has failed. There's not a single person, I don't care who they are. You can pick your favorite crypto investor, or you can pick your favorite business individual or sports star, whatever. No one gets to greatness without failure. So if you're trying to strive for greatness and you're experiencing a bit of failure right now, just know that is one of the steps toward greatness. You don't get there. The road to success is not straight. It's full of bumps. It's full of pitfalls. It's full of mountains, hills, animals, monsters, guns, knives, swords to the back, whatever. There is a lot of stuff that an individual needs to go through, and perseverance is what's going to get you there. So you should, while you shouldn't be overly excited that you invested too much, you should give yourself a pat on the back and understand that you just got a badge of courage. One of the first badges you need to get to eventually get where you want to go, which is some form of success, however you define that. Will Coinmetro start replenishing Treasury within near future? Treasury is replenished to a certain extent all the time because we are making revenue in XCM. And yes, at some point we will look to renew Treasury. There are a few ways we can do that. One of those obviously is buying XCM at market. Another one of those is tied to our bonds. Obviously, we could repurchase bonds. That's another one. There's others as well, but just to throw that out there. So we do and will be looking to re-establish more of an XCM balance in our treasury. Right now, though, I've been asked several times if we are buying into the XCM market at this moment, or well, since I guess a few weeks ago. And no, we are not. As a company, we are not currently buying into the XCM market, either automatically or otherwise. Hey, Kev, good Friday. Can we get a 411 on whale token? Whale. Sure. I think I discussed whale room a bit last week, kind of let the cat out of the bag, so to speak, the dog out of the sack. I don't know. Why is it the cat out of the bag? Anybody know what the origin of that is? Somebody's got to Google it. Anyway, cat out of the bag. So when it comes to whale room, I had a discussion along with Oliver. Most of you guys know. I don't think most of you have probably ever seen Oliver. Some of them have requested to see him, but he's never made an appearance on the show yet. But most of you know who he is, I would guess. So Oliver and I had a discussion late one Friday night, if I remember, with the founder of Whale Room, I believe CEO as well. Same person, by the way. And I and Oliver as well, whether we do these together or we do these apart, we have lots of calls with and interactions with lots of different projects and businesses around crypto. And most of the time, those calls, there's no spark. Just like in any relationship, normally, the first time you interact with somebody, if you want to interact with them again. And it's pretty quick. It can take seconds sometimes. In fact, sometimes it doesn't even need to be verbal. It's just immediate. It's just you look at someone, you get this feeling, and you automatically are kind of checking or unchecking a box of whether I want to do this again. And with Whale Room, I have to say, at least for me, 25, 30 seconds in, I knew that I wanted to have another conversation at some point. There are amazing ideas that lead to that have no execution and never come to existence. There are ideas that don't seem all that interesting that actually become amazing businesses. And then there's everything in between. And I think for me, the initial idea for Whale Room didn't get me so excited. It was like, yeah, that seems like it's probably something that could be missing. You know, my devil's advocate brain was already thinking, well, what if Discord just made a plugin and did the same thing, or Telegram? But after speaking with Whale Room and seeing the UI UX, seeing the passion, seeing all the ideas that were moving around, and how this person described them and how he went through all the details of what they wanted to do, what they have done, what the plans were, and what we could do together between Coinmetro and Whale Room, I became excited. I liked it. I liked what I saw. And right then and there, I think Oliver and I agreed that we should move forward with this project, with this company, and with this token. So what they do, they basically have a messaging app or suite or dashboard that allows you to intricately tie access to a room, access to a community, and a digital asset, whether their token, your token, a new token that's created. And that may sound simplistic, but it's not really, considering that my whole idea for the last few years, and I've said this many times here, is that all companies, when I say all labs, you don't mean all, it's like saying 99.9% secure or something. I don't know. You can't say 100%. So virtually all companies at some point will tokenize themselves for one reason or another. And that to me means that something like this that deals in tokenized communities are becoming a big thing. Influencer marketing is now is at some point going to be the biggest ad spend for any company. And for some companies it already is, but I mean, globally speaking, influencer marketing is going to breach the amount of money spent on the Super Bowl and, you know, FIFA and everything else combined. It will. It's going to get there. Why? Because we're going down this path, obviously, that we were becoming more and more, well, I would say unsocial by way of social networks and social communities. And communities are a big thing. We already know they're a big thing in crypto. They're becoming and will continue to become big things in all other industries, simply because people want to feel involved. They want to feel part of something, and they want to know what's happening now, not yesterday. They want to know now. And so that, to me, means that Whale Room has a pretty big niche that they can possibly fill, because we've already experienced what happens in Telegram. It's the same reason why we're moving to Discord. We've already seen what happens in Telegram when people that shouldn't be there are there. We also have to create all these little private groups, which we don't want to do because we don't have a way to really vet people that come into that group. But the simple token integration allows us to do that. NFTs, we can create different NFTs that give access. Membership clubs can be based on digital NFTs. There's so many things that can happen there that are quite interesting. And yes, another company may come around and do it, but Whale Room, we think, has the ability, the know-how, and the passion to do it better. And that's why Whale Room. Hopefully that was a long response, I think. Jen's, I see again, I think you already asked a few questions. Nice, great to ask another one. You often refer to future where companies tokenize themselves. Yeah, really? Any plans to combine this with XCM staking, where this could pay some equity tokens? Not sure I get the full brunt of your question, but one thing I would say, XCM is utility token. Connecting that any way, shape, or form to our equity would mean that it is now a security. And that would limit a lot of things that we can do with XCM. So I don't think, at least in the short term, that's going to happen. But I do think that XCM can be tied to, in some way, shape, or form, another token or another asset that potentially hooks up to equity. Our goal is to make XCM as intricately tied to this system and ecosystem as we can. And we've done, I would say, well, comparatively speaking to others, a lot, but I think we've done a little in comparison to what we want to do. And as we release more products, more services, et cetera, as we grow, you're going to see more and more utility and more cool stuff that XCM can do and give you access to and reward you for. Where did you get your blazer hoodie at? Good question. It was bought online. So long story short, my wife likes to shop at Farfetch. Anybody knows Farfetch is? Backify, by the way, now giving cash back on Farfetch, so I'll be able to save, I don't know, like $1 billion a year or something. So she buys a lot of stuff on Farfetch, and then I'm usually that guy that does clothes shopping once a year, and like I run into the mall, literally like almost blindfolded, grab like 12 pairs of pants, like 4 pairs of pants, and like 8 shirts, and I leave. Fortunately, now I haven't worn a non-Coinmetro t-shirt in like the last 3 years, so that makes my life a bit easier. But yeah, I just kind of got tired of hitting buy from my wife, so I figured, well, I could use something that's kind of professional but kind of not at the same time. And so yeah, I saw this thing. I thought, yeah, all right. So yeah, that's the story behind this bad boy, Farfetch. Yeah. Not for the faint of heart, by the way. Farfetch is not for the faint of heart. So you know, try not to cry when you go in there. Speaking on banning of POW, are you familiar with the WEF and the global reset? I'm definitely familiar with the WEF. I've been there, World Economic Forum. If that's the WEF you're referring to, unless that's some token like the Waldorf Astoria's Frankfurt token or something, I don't know. But if you're talking about the World Economic Forum, absolutely, I'm familiar with it. Global reset, I think I'm vaguely familiar with the idea of a global reset. Though I may be thinking about a different type of reset. So, but I think I generally get the terms, yes. Look, the World Economic Forum, obviously when the idea was pitched, the idea was to do something good, get a lot of influential people in the same place in a relatively safe environment that could be controlled and try to solve some of the world's most egregious problems. Sounds like a great idea. What that's turned into is a indoor-outdoor conference at a ski resort where people fly in private jets. And the idea that these wealthy and well-to-do, kind of powerful individuals are now sitting in storefronts that companies paid a couple $100K to just refurbish for a weekend or a few days during a week kind of rubs people the wrong way when they're there talking about how to reform income inequality. Well, how about a starting idea of not flying your private jet to a private ski resort to a private, conference that, only really does boost the kind of ego of most of the wealthy people that attend it. And so I think like many things in life, ideas on paper can seem like good ideas, but in practice, things rarely turn out as they are on paper. So global reset, if you're talking about kind of, I can go either way with this, the global reset of, there's this kind of theory that powers that be want to diminish the population of the earth to like 500,000 people. And when I say powers that be, mostly people that no one even knows exist. There's also that's kind of like a new world order as well. Global reset, if you're talking about kind of resetting on how the world approaches these problems, meaning that the WEF really is meaningless and shouldn't really happen anymore. I think that on a high level, that's easy to agree with if you look at it through the lens of this is kind of obnoxious and doesn't make sense. How can these guys with a straight face try to talk about income inequality and these type of problems when obviously they're so far removed from these problems? But I would counter that or challenge that a bit and say, I would agree that people that suffer know more about suffering. But do you think that a group of people that hold no power and no sway over decision-making, let's say a group of people that do suffer from income inequality, so the lowest threshold, the guys and women and that make less than $1 a day, if they gathered to talk about that problem, would there be solutions that would work as well? Even if they came up with ideas that potentially could work, would anyone listen and try to implement them? And once if they did try to implement them, would that give those people then more power and start a cycle where we end up at the same place? People that used to suffer that now are on private jets going to a specific private location to discuss problems they no longer face. So my whole reasoning there just to kind of jump back, is these problems are complex. And while it may seem they may be easy or solvable in a different way, human beings are very good at perpetuating the same problems regardless of the changing of the starting point. So MVB, will CM make a channel on Whale Room? And when will XCM balances on the exchange be integrated with them? So CM will absolutely make a channel on Whale Room. That's one of the reasons why we want to work with them. Again, you guys know that we don't work with companies just to list them. So it's not just about let's list Whale Room. Okay, we're done. Absolutely, there will be a CM channel. And yes, there was talk on that initial call about integrating Coinmetro so that on-platform balances, not just of XCM, can be linked so that access to Whale Room channels can be open. Good afternoon from the UK. Fear is here. Another shakeout. Love it. Yep, fear is definitely here. I'm not fearful, but I kind of don't want to check my portfolio anymore. So I think I won't check. I would say I wouldn't check for like a month, but everybody knows that's impossible. So instead of checking 17 times a day, I'll do it 6 and not lose as much hair. Thumbs up, everyone. 48 watching and only 14 likes. I see 69 watching actually right now. I can't see the likes though. So yeah, guys, for me, please, couple likes would be great. That just shows the community that, well, again, if you don't like what I'm saying, then, I'm not forcing you to like anything. But if you do like it, if you come around every week and you're like, this bald guy knows what he's talking about, you can hit that like button. It's going to help us out. It's going to help us provide you better content and gear us and tell us what you like so that, well, we don't produce stuff you don't, which that's a waste of time. Do you think that whale manipulation is still possible? Absolutely, it is. Is there a conclusion if XCM staking limit will be changed in the near future? And if not, any thought for just a symbolic reward for staking more than 500,000 XCM? No conclusion. Well, there is a conclusion. It absolutely will be raised. If you're talking about a specific conclusion or decision about when, how, not yet. In fact, that's not going to be part of XCM tokenomics 2.0 announcement, but that will follow XCM 2.0 announcement at some point. We need to monetize in order to remove that limit, because removing that limit, yes, does help us reward a bit more some of our biggest supporters. And that's something that we want to do. But remember, we're about inclusion. So just doing that doesn't necessarily help the vast majority of our users. It also doesn't necessarily help new users, because most new users, because of price increase, won't be able to buy more than 500,000 XCM anyway. So we want to make sure that we increase the good about that program, but for most people first, in line with the WEF conversation. If even Nasdaq crashed 85% in 2000, then why wouldn't Bitcoin dump as much? Oh, it has. Bitcoin has fallen by more than around 83% in every major correction. What I'm saying is, and look, Nasdaq. Remember that the Nasdaq is a composite. And Bitcoin is one asset. So the problem with composites, whether it's the Nasdaq, whether it's the Dow, all these are composite. Dow is just 30 assets, right? So you're not looking at an entire market. Bitcoin, you're looking at one thing, one commodity, which is like saying gold falling by 85% in one day. Probably not going to happen. If it does, well, good luck. The reason it's happened in Bitcoin previously is because of retail money. Retail money capitulates really fast. They get fearful. When one gets fearful, they all get fearful. They fall like dominoes. And then greedy little institutional guys and smarter retail guys are all there to gobble it up when it hits the bottom. The Nasdaq being a composite, you can have one overly weighted failure that basically shows an 85% correction, when in reality, most things didn't fall even close to 85%. So it's a bad comparison, but you're also talking about 2000. That doesn't mean, of course, there was more institutional money in the Nasdaq than in Bitcoin, even in 2000. Point is that this market is volatile, but because it's volatile, if it falls 40%, it can recover that just as quickly. Whereas Nasdaq falling 85% in 2000 did not recover in a few days. So I think there's a bit of a different market mechanics, but again, it's a bit of an odd comparison because you're talking about a composite versus a single asset which is hard to make that comparison. Hi, mate. Do you do reactions? I don't know what that means, to be honest. So I don't know. I obviously react to things, but I don't know what reactions are. So you'll have to school me on that one. CM exchange related, when we draw charts and lines on screens, we cannot see them stay there once we refresh the screen, or we go back the next day, we can have a system where the lines stay. Yeah, that's probably tied to like the pro version or whatever of the charting package that we have. I think. I don't think there's anything we can necessarily do on our side to make that work, but I could be wrong. I know people have brought this up, so I'll bring it up internally and see what we can do. Yeah, for what TradingView? I think it's trade. I think it's just a professional version of TradingView. I could be wrong. Is it time to sell ETH and BTC into XCM to stop the bleed? Do you think this downtrend is just the beginning? I'm not convinced that this is the beginning of some further onslaught. I said when we were slightly above where we are today in terms of Bitcoin price, when everybody was talking about 42K as a pivotal marker, that we could potentially go lower, but I don't expect to see the type of corrections we've seen in the past in that 80 percentile range. Selling one asset to buy into another one is a strategy if you know what you're doing and you're willing to, and you have the capabilities of managing risk. If your idea of if the volatility scares you, chasing gains will probably lead to a worse scenario. As you know, as you have seen, if you check charts or been here long enough, ETH and BTC always have recovered in the past. Does that mean they will recover this time? No, of course it doesn't. But there is a high probability that they will. And unless you absolutely know what you're doing and you pick the exact right timing, then jumping from one asset to another is usually never a good thing. Imagine, for example, you sell all your ETH and BTC to buy XCM, and then XCM floats back to 40 cents for 6 months. And then you sell out of XCM shoots to €1, and you buy back into ETH and BTC at a medium-term top, and it falls to 30K again. So, you need to be very concise with those type of decisions. Don't jump in and out of assets just because you feel emotional about where they may be sitting. Hi. Would anyone use Whale over other message apps? Am I missing something? Well, that's a good question, but that's a question asked by any business, right? When Nike came out, are people really going to buy sneakers from another, and are people really going to buy Pumas, Reeboks, Adidas, etc.? Why? There's already these guys. Why would someone use Telegram over WhatsApp? That already existed. Why is somebody using WhatsApp over, Facebook Messenger? Why is somebody using Facebook Messenger over Hotmail Messenger? Why is somebody using Hotmail Messenger over IOC? What is it? ICO? Was it ICO? What was the name of that one? Anyway, point is that why is anybody using Coinmetro over Huobi? The point is that businesses do well because they maintain a narrative. People like what they're doing. They follow their values. They get emotionally attached, and they provide a good service. And there's other reasons for it as well. So just because something exists doesn't mean it can't be bettered. In fact, if that was kind of the rationale that every business owner had or every potential entrepreneur had, we would never have new things, because we don't have new things. We have iterations of old things that are slightly different. Whale is different than all other messaging apps because of a few different reasons, because of a few different features. So yeah, I don't think that's an issue. I think it never should be. If you're stopped from pursuing change because what you want to do is similar to what somebody else is doing, then you probably shouldn't even try, because that should never stop you, to be honest. What is the purpose of Whale Room? I think we already discussed Whale Room. So being discussed internally right now, we tried to get the rewards pulled onto our staking addresses. However, there was some issue, I believe, with Solana nodes or something around those lines that made it not work. We're investigating with Flux. Don't know what CXO is, Hector, so can't answer that question. Again, can't answer that. DM me some information on CXO. I'll take a look. When will start Kadena coin staking? Can't answer this question. This question gets asked a lot. Once Kadena reopens bonding, we can reopen staking. So that's a Kadena question, actually. Will it be possible to earn APY with stablecoins? Yes, in the future, we envision a Coinmetro will provide some form of reward on every single asset it lists, including stablecoins. I see you got very similar vibe and vision of industry to Kevin Owaki. Okay, I don't know who that is, but we share the same name, so I guess he must be awesome. I don't know about Gitcoin. Is that anywhere related to GitHub or some similar service? You got to DM me on Telegram, give me some more information. Any plans, chance for XCM holders to get dividends similar to KuCoins? Well, KuCoin is operating illegally in most countries because of that, so no. XCM holders will probably never have immediate access to dividends. However, there will be similar linkages somehow to our own equity products, but it's not going to be through XCM. XCM is a utility token and will always remain as such. I think Jens know, choose the guy in the back. Well, Jens should shout it out. Is the mask behind you Brian Singer? No, not Brian Singer. Hey, Custom Toggle, nice to see you. Do you have to pay a fee for listing on CoinMarketCap? You're more a fan of CoinGecko, right? No, there's no fee for CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko. I didn't like CoinMarketCap from the beginning. I think the management there was quite bad, and they weren't really providing much of a service, and just overinflated because of traffic, which, because they were kind of the only game in town to get pricing. I do like CoinGecko more. I think they're more run a more unbiased and more professional outfit. Plus, now that CoinMarketCap's owned by Binance, that should not be possible. There shouldn't that type of ownership, if we were a more regulated industry, would not be, that wouldn't be allowed, and it shouldn't be allowed, to be honest. Is the mask face Gilbert from Quant? Nope, somebody already guessed that, not Gilbert either. If I stake XCM now, how will I receive the other staking benefits reward that you will roll out in the future? It'll be automatic. You won't have to do a thing. You will just get them. How did the meeting go with the odd payment provider? Call went well, waiting on commercials. It's about a 3 to 4 month process, unfortunately, to get that thing greenlit. That process will probably start in February. So you're talking early summer to potentially see localized odd payments. Hey, Kev, roadmap for Q1 2022. Is the ink on the paper yet? There's a lot of ink on lots of papers, but in terms of the public version, not yet. Can you add a feature to tip staff from staking rewards in the staking page? That would be a cool feature. Not sure we would do that from staking per se, but maybe that could be done from dashboard, or maybe even an integration with Intercom, the software we use. Then that's maybe something we could actually sell to other companies. It's an interesting one. I'd love to do something like that, actually. I'll have to bring that one up internally. Probably already often asked KDA staking when. Yep, already answered. Depends on when they'll reopen bonding. Not something that we can control at Coinmetro. There's a small gym, Aleph Zero. Have you heard of them? They seem like a great project. I haven't. DM me some info and I'll take a look. Have you ever regretted a coin listing? No. No, I haven't. Look, we're not gonna hit the ball out of the park 100% of the time. So we will be wrong. And when we're wrong, I don't see that as a niche in the armor. I see it as an inevitability. We will be wrong at some point. So no, I haven't regretted anyone up to this point. I don't think I ever will. That's why we go through a process of listing them. Will be possible to earn APY with stablecoin? Yep, already answered that one. Absolutely, we're headed in that direction. You said I wouldn't take a loan to trade crypto. So in your personal opinion, leverage trading has no place in the market. What is the appropriate case for taking bank loans? I don't say it doesn't have a, I was assuming you were particularly talking about taking out a bank loan. And so that's what my answer was geared towards. I am not a fan of leverage trading for people that don't understand the mechanics of leverage trading. Credit, in every sense of the word, whether that be bank loan, a credit card, a line of credit, is a tool, and if used correctly, is a great tool. If used incorrectly, which most people do, it's a terrible, terrible thing. So I'm not a fan of leverage trading for people that don't understand what leverage is and how to use it effectively. But my answer to you initially was specifically for bank loans. Okay. Nothing will move ever. We dead. We are all dead. No, I don't think we're all dead. This is crypto, guys. This is a volatile, illiquid market. This is what happens. Doesn't mean a thing. I don't think the cycle's over. It really depends on how you define the cycle, if there's a cycle at all. For me, everything is cyclical. So it is a cycle, but I don't think that cycles, uh, generally speaking, that we have enough data to even know when the cycle starts and finishes. I think with a market this volatile and with the changing dynamics of the liquidity that exists in this market, trying to figure out 3-4 year cycles is a waste of time. Wow, 15 more likes in the 10 seconds Kevin talks about it. Great job. Thank you very much for that. I really do appreciate it. If we can get 15 more, that'd be amazing. Wink, wink, hint, hint. Skylar, nice to see. I didn't see. Did Skylar ask a question? I didn't see Skylar ask a question. Maybe she just popped in somewhere. What is your current market cap? What is the current market cap of Whirl? That's a good one. I don't know. I think it's small. That much I know. But I don't know off the top of my head actually. But it's small. It's a small market cap. Oh, that's not right. There we go. My man deserves it. I will assume you're right. Have you ever thought about delisting one of the things Seam is listed? No, not up to this point. We have gotten rid of just recently pairs that just didn't have any volume and we're destroying our reputation on CoinGecko. For example, we got rid of them. Look what happened. CoinGecko, I think we're ranked number 24. And we were ranked in the 80s. And that's simply because of getting rid of some of those pairs that weren't really seeing any action. When you make it, will you get a hair transplant? I've already made it, Shady. I made it years ago, way before CoinMetro. I could have gotten 500 hair transplants. I didn't, and I won't. Don't believe in it. I'd rather just be me. And so if me is, bald, then so be it. Hey, Kev, looks like you so used to beard nowadays. Still looking forward to the day it's shaved off, as this would mean CoinMetro is back on track. I'll always be part of the CoinMetro myself. Well, we've been on track. I think getting there means we are on track. Being where we are right now means we're on track. But that shave day, maybe I'll let somebody actually shave it off at the €1 party. Why having both Discord and Whale Room for CM users? Wouldn't that dilute community? One will become certainly more popular. Well, I'm not saying we would eventually keep both. We may use them for different reasons. And so we potentially could keep both. That's a decision that's going to be made internally, mainly by some of our community admins. But yeah, we wouldn't do anything that we thought would dilute the community. That's for sure. Oh, there you go. See, somebody knows more about the charting interface than I do. So thanks for that. Appreciate it. So there you go, Jack. You can actually just click this little cloud icon, save it to the cloud. Okay, answered that one already. Changing gains is like switching checkout lines at the grocery store. Yep, the first one you pick is always the slowest. You ever notice that? And then you go, you see the other one moving faster. Same thing on the highway. You're in the one lane when there's traffic. The other lane seems to be moving faster. And then you change in that lane and the other lane moves. Yeah, same thing. Strong hands survive. Bears and bulls will play, and the little piggies get squashed. Always do your own research. Yep, there you go. I think it's also what pigs get fatter, hogs go to slaughter. That's another good one for you. Layer 2 listings. The only real answer has to be Metis. Is it on the radar? Fantastic stack, strong narratives. Anytime I hear the only solution, usually tells me that it's a shill more than anything else. But I will definitely take a look. I haven't looked at Metis. There always is more than one option. Let's put it that way. That doesn't mean you'll always do all the options. You might not even pick the best option. You may pick the most used option. There's always more than one, though. That's for sure. Hey, Kev, have you entered your Credo position? I'm in Credo to a certain extent. Still a little bit more to go. Thoughts on CADEX and the upcoming launch? No real thoughts other than the fact that we're here to support Cadena. We've been supporting them. They've been supporting us. We will support CADEX as well, and hope for them to do well. We did have a conversation. We will have more. We'll have one this evening as well about some potential things that we can do together to help support DeFi in general on Cadena. I think he said Credo is the next cycle play. Liked and subscribe. Yeah, this guy liked and subscribed. Way to go. Really do appreciate it. Have you heard of Cellframe? Haven't. So DM me, please. What are your thoughts on Tezos? I'm not the biggest Tezos fan, but that doesn't mean that I think there's something wrong with Tezos. I have had some talks recently with a project that's working on the Tezos. We're working on top of the Tezos protocol, which is quite interesting. You may see some news from us about that in the coming future. I'm not against Tezos. but I'm not its biggest fan. But that might be because I'm not the most biggest informed person about what they're planning. And so I know that we actually even have shareholders that are big Tezos fans. So eventually they may get me over on that side of the fence as well. What is your short list for future staking options? Well, just look at the things we've listed, and you'll see what the short list is. What's your favorite Shakira song? Jesus, I don't think I have one. I actually met Shakira in Miami airport one time. I was on the same flight with her and like 15 of her bodyguards, and she was so short that I was standing behind 3 of her bodyguards and didn't even know there was somebody in front of them until we walked around a corner. I don't think I have a favorite Shakira song, to be honest. But when you said that, the one that popped into my head was the song that goes Shakira, Shakira. You know? What is that, like the Black Eyed Peas maybe with her or something? I forget. I think it is Black Eyed Peas, right? That by no means would be my favorite, but it's the one that popped into my head, probably because it just says her name 15 times in a row. So good job on them for, staying power. I guess saying your name. I should have a song that just says Kevin a bunch of times. Maybe it would become a hit. Probably not, though, if I sang it. But, I could try. Do you believe that central banks will actually raise interest rates? How would it affect the crypto markets? I'd assume badly. They will have to raise interest rates. I mean, they have no choice. The playbook of central banks is literally they have 2 buttons. It's like inflate or deflate. That's it. They come out with lots of commentary afterward to make it seem like they're doing lots of stuff and that stuff is complex. And da, 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 da. It's not. They get into a room. There was a South Park episode. They get into a room, they cut off a chicken's head. The chicken falls like on, raise interest rates, and they raise them. I don't think there's any chickens involved now. But yeah. So they will absolutely raise interest rates, 100%. I don't think it'll have a terrible effect on crypto because the macro situation around the world is still shit and will continue to be shit for the foreseeable future. Hey, Kev, how long until Coinmetro is back and running 100% due to recent back? I'm still on hold on getting verified. I don't know. What do you mean by back? Well, we had a bunch of frauds, so we're pretty close. We have a list of about 70 accounts that still need to be investigated. There's probably a little close to 1,000 or so, maybe a little less than that now, that are still waiting in the queue. But that queue will start to get more hands inside that queue as we get through these last 70 cases that need to be investigated. So we're close. I would say in the next 2 weeks or so, we should be more or less back on track. What's up with the major resistance at 68 cents in XCM price? I don't know. Somebody must want to sell at 68 cents. That's fine. It'll eat through it eventually. We're about 2 minutes over. There's only a few other questions. I'll try to snag them all. Hey, Kev, have you read the AML compliance book written by Mattis Meeker? No, I haven't. Sounds like an amazing read, though. Maybe when I can't fall asleep next week at some point, I'll try to smack it open. But I have to be honest. I probably never read a book about AML compliance, but I've been involved in a lot of AML compliance. Whether that's better or worse, I have no idea. Quite, excuse my tasteless shill, but up to rank 3 on, Jesus, I don't know. Excuse my taste, okay. Up to rank 3 on TVL, flipping loop ring recently. Hackathon just finished, building incentives and ecosystem funds. Just think it's focused on community matches CM. Okay. I think you're talking about something called TVL. So please DM me something about it. DM me a link. I'll take a look. Do you believe proof of stake has a place in layer 1 consensus? It has a place. Sure. I think it's proven it has a place. Is there anyone even close to quant in regard to interoperability and overledger solutions for traditional systems to connect with crypto platforms? Without even knowing the correct answer to this question, I would have to say yes. Now that may sound ridiculous, and this isn't me kind of trying to bash quant, because it's not. No, quant wasn't, Gilbert wasn't the first guy to wake up in the morning one day and go, interoperability is a thing. Yeah, that's kind of a no shit Sherlock comment. I haven't done a no shit Sherlock comment on the show for a while because I haven't done news. But that's a no shit Sherlock. Many people have thought about interoperability in every single type of technical system that's ever been built on the face of the earth, including crypto. He's not the only one tackling the problem. He initially tackled it in a very unique way, which is talking about central banks. I made a prediction at that point that might not be the best way for him to go, and he might not see a lot of success there. And now I've seen that they've pivoted now, talking about interoperability across many different types of ecosystems. Good on you, Gilbert, for doing that. Central banks don't give a shit about interoperability for the most part. Having said that, yes, there's definitely people out there doing other things. I can't name you one. And again, this is me without even doing the research. I can guarantee you there's other teams doing things when it comes to interoperability. For sure, 100%. Without a doubt. Is Shaggy who sings Hips Don't Lie? Ah, it was Shaggy. What did I say? Black Eyed Peas? Cool. Thanks, Robin. That's going to wrap it up. That's a cool comment to wrap up on, I guess. Having said that about Quant, by the way, we would still be willing to run a gateway. I know, Gilbert went and kind of got into bed with LCX or LCX. We told him that probably wasn't going to be a great idea. You might be right. But anyway, having said, do we have another question? My questions are not showing up for you anymore, obviously. Well, it's still. It hit the nail on the head. Maybe. Yeah, your questions were showing up. Well, I did see this actually. I just didn't notice it wasn't a question. Didn't even bother reading it. So, you're right. Congratulations. You are right. And I haven't read his book, and I won't probably because just seeing some of his responses to some outward questions that were asked him by the public, and some of his proposals, I don't need to read it. I already read it. See, Jesus. No, it's Wycliffe. It is Wycliffe. Now you can hear it in my head. Yeah. Anyway. So isn't Wycliffe on that? No, that's anyway. Jesus, I don't know. We're getting into too much music history here. Awesome. So thanks everybody for being here. It is going to be the weekend, so spend time with friends and family. Do it virtually if you can't do it physically. As I always tell you, as you're gathered around your Zoom call, and try not to fall asleep. Why Grant Aunt Susie talks about the trip she couldn't take to the lake because of her sciatica. Make sure you let her know that sciaticas are painful and that you feel bad for her, but XCM is the cure. Everybody have a great weekend. I will see you here next Friday. I'll see you on Telegram and maybe at some point Discord over this weekend. Please tag me. If you have a question at Kevin Mirko, you can also tweet me at Kevin Mirko. It doesn't mean I can get to all of them. I try. I really do try. Sometimes I can't. I do get a lot of messages, thousands of them actually. But have a great weekend. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all your support. This weekend, you might actually want to look at XCM price, but try not to look at everything else because it might get worse before it gets better. See you guys soon. Cheers. Lots of bullish divergence, though, by the way. Just a technical tip. Not that I haven't been a technical trader for a long time, but just looking at a chart really fast without any indicator, I can tell you you're probably seeing a lot of bullish divergence, probably all across the board, to be honest. Lots of it. Massive amounts of bullish divergence. All that means is that buy pressure is starting to push sell pressure. That doesn't mean the selling will stop. Doesn't mean prices won't go lower. But just a tip. All right. See you guys. Cheers.